that says Alaska. This guy right here is from Alaska with a motorcycle, and he is from Indiana.
Hey guys, thanks for joining me for episode 4 of the Chile Ride series here on the Spanish Dojo channel, which documents my cousins and my motorcycle adventure across the country of Chile in January of 2020. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Remember that this series is available in both English and Spanish, so if you prefer, solo haz clic aquí arriba para ver este episodio en español. In the previous episode, we rode through the region of Coquimbo and most of Valparaíso. In this installment, we'll actually be riding in a total of 8, count them, 8 different regions. We'll start in Valparaíso, of course, since that's where we left off, and we'll then proceed to the regions of O'Higgins, Maule, Ñuble, Biobío, Araucanía, Los Ríos, and the northern portion of Los Lagos. Technically speaking, there was a 9th region we were in, which is the Región Metropolitana, or metropolitan region, where the capital of Santiago is located. But honestly, we really just kind of cut across the very southwestern tip of that one and barely even noticed we were in it. Anyway, those first 5 I mentioned, 6 if you count the metropolitan region, from the southern part of Valparaíso all the way to the northern part of Biobío, make up what's known as the Zona Central, or Central Zone. This area still has a Mediterranean climate, but there's progressively more annual rainfall as you work your way south, so you'll see more and more vegetation here. The remaining 3, Araucanía, Los Ríos, and the northern part of Los Lagos, form what's called the Zona Sur, or Southern Zone. Of the 5 natural regions, this one boasts the most lakes, and annual rainfall here also increases considerably, so you'll notice a lot more vegetation. Fortunately, we didn't get into any rain ourselves, but it was evident that it was much more frequent in this area. We got up on the morning of January 16th and cooked up what we had left of our groceries for breakfast. Then we said our goodbyes to the Cabezas family and headed back down the hill and out onto the highway. Our goal for the day was to make it to Linares with some daylight to spare. It was a little over 240 miles away, so that was pretty feasible. The main route to get there is pretty straightforward. You can take Route 68 into Santiago and then grab Route 5 and head due south all the way to Linares. The problem with that, though, is that we didn't really want to go through Santiago. So we did head out on Route 68, but we cut off early, took some miscellaneous highways to head towards San Antonio instead. And then once we got to San Antonio, we could switch on to Route 66, which would take us southeast and eventually meet up with Route 5 as well. Route 66 eventually comes to a junction with Route 5 in a little town called Pelequén. The main reason we set Linares as our goal for the day was that we wanted to meet up with a YouTuber by the name of John Gross. John lives in Chile with his wife and son, and I'm a subscriber to his channel. I enjoy watching his videos, so I thought it would be cool to actually meet him in person. I'll leave a link to John's channel in the description below if you want to check it out. We rolled into Linares in the late afternoon, early evening, which gave us enough time to get situated, meet up with John, and get a bite to eat.
These guys here are super hungry because, take a look. That says Alaska. This guy right here is from Alaska with a motorcycle, and he is from Indiana. And his name is Scott and David. They came here to Linares to visit me, but really to go and travel from where to where?
From Arica in the north to Punta Arenas in the south. The whole country, basically.
That's incredible. And how's the trip so far?
It's great.
It's been great.
Yeah.
The people have been wonderful, and lots of great scenery. No complaints at all. We've had a couple setbacks, mechanical setbacks, but worked through them and met a lot of wonderful people along the way. Helped us out. It's been great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And your favorite food so far?
Chacarera.
Chacarero for him, and I think mechada for me.
So good. We're gonna go to a place called Tumbaito right now to get some more delicious food, and maybe not just street food, but some restaurant food. So let's go and eat some more. All right, so they went for some risotto with some fish. How is it?
Very good. It's good. The risotto del mar. Thumbs up.
So good.
After a delicious meal and some great fellowship, we headed out of Linares to continue south on Route 5, which you can see from John's perspective here.
What a cool experience to hang out with some guys that flew down here from the United States, Alaska and Indiana. But what a cool experience for them too, to go from Arica. I mean, I would love to do this if I knew how to drive a motorcycle. Go from Arica all the way down to Punta Arenas. I mean, just to do the Carretera Austral would be a dream come true for me. But for now, from beautiful, beautiful Linares, there they go. Ciao, Pescao.
Having met our goal for the day, the plan was to ride just a little south of Linares and find a place to camp out along some country road somewhere. Anyway, we basically ended up having a repeat of the night before where we couldn't find anywhere to camp. When we came to a dead end at the end of one road, we noticed that there was a couple outside their house there at the end of the road. So we asked them if they knew of anywhere we could camp in the area. They said there was nowhere around to camp, but we were perfectly welcome to use a spare room that they had. We told them that wasn't really necessary, but we did have a tent and camping gear if we might be able to use an area of their property to camp on. They said we were certainly welcome to do that, but insisted that the room would be more comfortable. So we ended up taking them up on it. The room was in the process of being remodeled, which was perfect for us. We just threw our bags down and at 265 miles for the day, wrapped up January 16th in the home of our gracious hosts, the Flores family. The next morning, January 17th, we got the bikes packed up, thanked the Flores family for their hospitality, and headed out. We didn't have an endpoint in mind for this particular day. We basically just wanted to go south along Route 5 and see how far we could get. However, we did have one item on our agenda that we wanted to check out along the way, and that was that we wanted to detour west on Route 152 to check out the coastal city of Talcahuano. And the reason we wanted to go there is that there's a historic battleship there called the Huáscar, which is an ironclad ship that was built for the Peruvian Navy in the 1860s and then captured by Chile in 1879 during the War of the Pacific. Although we did make it to the Huáscar Museum and were able to see the ship, we could only look at it from a distance because everything was closed down, unfortunately. While we were there, we had some lunch and then made our way through Talcahuano and the neighboring city of Concepcion. Leaving Concepcion, we caught Route 146 east, which would eventually take us back to Route 5 so that we could continue our journey south. Somewhere along the way, we decided that our endpoint for the day would be the city of Temuco. We rolled into that city in the evening and got some groceries. We weren't exactly sure what we were going to do about accommodations, but when we were riding along the main drag in the city, we ended up seeing several people advertising cabins that they were renting. So when we were at the grocery store, we asked some locals what they thought about these people, if they were trustworthy, and several people told us that it was no big deal, it was safe. So we decided to try that out. We talked to one guy who was advertising his place at a reasonable price and ended up following him to it to set up for the night. It was a nice little place, and he had this area inside the gate where we could lock up our motorcycles for the night, so that was a cool feature. Our host was actually a professor at a local university, and he said he normally uses these rooms as dorms that he rents to students during the school year, but during summer vacation he rents to tourists like us. At any rate, it gave us a nice place to cook our groceries and get some sleep after logging about 300 miles to round out January 17th. The next morning, January 18th, we were well rested and ready to make our way out of Temuco for another day of riding.
Hello.
Our goal for the day was pretty simple. We were just going to continue heading south on Route 5 all the way down to Puerto Montt, which was about 220 miles or so south of Temuco. Most of the footage shown in this sequence is from the Los Ríos and Los Lagos regions of Chile, which basically just get more and more beautiful the farther south you go. Across the lake here you'll see two prominent volcanoes, Osorno and Calbuco, which are part of a vast array of volcanoes, mountains, lakes, etc. that you'll see in this beautiful area. We made it to Puerto Montt with plenty of time to spare. This is a major port town in Chile, and this is also where we parted ways with Route 5 because this is where it starts to head southwest, whereas we wanted to go southeast. This avenue here, Avenida Salvador Allende, is basically a transition between Route 5 and Route 7. So as soon as we turn left here, we'll be on Route 7, which is the Carretera Austral, or the Southern Highway. This is the very beginning of that highway. There is no Route 7 north of this in Chile. After making our way along the coast, we found a motel online where we made a reservation and then turned up into this neighborhood where the motel was located. The motel had this little area inside a secure gate, which again was nice to be able to put the bikes inside there. The staff was all very friendly, and it was a nice little space to stay in. We found a little grocery store, cooked up some dinner, and also found a local who offered to do our laundry for a fee. And that pretty much rounded out January 18th, 220 miles for the day. January 19th found us setting out on our newly acquired Route 7, which is the Carretera Austral, or Southern Highway. You may recall that our YouTuber friend in Linares, John Gross, made mention of this highway as a place that he would really like to ride, and there's little wonder as to why. It just gets more and more beautiful the farther you go. This is where you really start getting into the area known as Patagonia here in Chile. This would be an interesting day for us because it would be the first time in our trip that we would load the bikes on a ferry. The ferry was located at Caleta La Arena, which is only about 30 miles from Puerto Montt, so it was a pretty quick ride. One interesting encounter we ended up having once we got there was with a deaf man we met who worked there in the ferry loading area. I learned a little bit ASL. You're from Araucanía. Cool. The ferry itself was pretty reasonably priced and didn't take long to get there, so once it arrived, we loaded up the bikes and headed across the water. As we float across here, we'll wrap up this installment with around 812 miles ridden over the 3.5 days covered in this episode. See you next time. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Once again, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Click up here to continue with the next episode of the Chile Ride series in English. Or, if you would like to practice your listening comprehension by rewatching this same episode in Spanish, solo haz clic aquí abajo para volver a ver este mismo episodio en español.